Best of r/malicious compliance episode 63. Subscribe for edit videos daily. So this was way back in my college days. I was renting a room from a sweet old lady for my freshman and sophomore year, but due to some unforeseen circumstances she had to kick me out. Family member moving back in. So she found her friend, literally next building over, and said she was cool and all. Went in, we talked and agreed on costs, and I moved in next week. We never discussed any house rules except I mentioned to her I expect to be allowed to go out and come back anytime I want and unrestricted use of bathroom, pretty standard stuff. Turns out, lady from hell was not that nice. She was widowed, husband died like 25 years ago WTCETC, so she liked her piece as she used to say. Fast forward a month or so and my birthday is coming up. I was dating a girl back then, but she never visited, mostly due to my erratic classes and the fact that the apartment was on outskirts of town, so we usually went out or I was at her place. Now for my birthday I had everything planned. I bought a fucking cake and some soda and I invited my GF for a slice. She said okay. Plan was to have GF, me and landlady grab a slice, a cup of coffee, and then me and GF would go out. No sleepover and no party. Me. So my GF will be around 7. I bought a cake and we can have a chat over some nice coffee. I'd love for you to meet her. Landlady, what? No. Who throws a birthday party in apartment? Besides, you are not married. No guests allowed. No party blah blah. Once you are, do what you want. We did not get into a shouting contest, but I'm pretty stubborn, so I told my GF just come. I jaff. So 6 PM rolls on and landlady goes out doing some shopping. My GF comes around 6:45 and I put my plan into action. I had one of those laptop mini desks with a single chair in my room that I brought when I moved in. You know, the one that has literally space for a laptop and nothing else. Apartment was in a 5-story building with around 35 other apartments and I was on 3rd floor. I take my desk, a cake and a soda bottle and one chair and take it outside in the hallway/staircase dead center in front of her apartment. GF sits, I stand, I slice the fucking cake, we are eating, talking, sipping soda. One neighbor walks by, I offer him a slice. Then another, then a third one, each one more perplexed than the last. Finally, landlady comes at like 7:30. I wish I was recording her face when she saw us lol. Her, WTF are you doing outside? Me, well you said no visitors and no cake and apartment. So we are eating here. Want a slice? OMG, you misunderstood me dear. Come in please. Come in. No need for this. I thought you were gonna have a party. I move back in and we go to my room. Needless to say, for the remainder of time I was renting that room, until the end of that year, she was silent when I told her GF is coming and never bothered me again. Thank you. Next. This was my 9th grade biology class. I have a weird name that once you learn how to pronounce it, it doesn't quite look how it's said. I'm used to being called the phonetically pronunciation. I kindly correct people and make a basic joke when they apologize and say don't feel bad, it's a weird name. I'm used it. Well, my biology teacher didn't believe me. He told me that I was lying, saying you're just trying to get a few laughs from your friends. I retorted this is my first day. I just moved here. I have no friends. But, my name is pronounced this way. Still cordial with him. He tried arguing with me. For over 5 minutes he kept telling me I'm a liar. I let it go. 2 days later when I was back in his class, he was doing roll call again. He came to me and mispronounced my name. I corrected him again. He again called me a liar. I told him to ask other teachers. I told them all my proper name. I told him, call my parents, they will tell you. He continued to insist I'm a liar. So, I told him, if you refuse to call me by my name I will not answer you in class. I ignored him in class. I would not answer him. A month or so later he kept calling me by the wrong name. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, I'm speaking to you. I told him no, that is not my name. If you want to speak to me, you need to call me by my name. He refused to learn my name. I did not answer him in class. Thank you. Next. Okay, this may not be entirely accurate as it's from my childhood, so around 35ish years ago. So, I grew up in Ocean TWP, in some apartments right off of Deal Road. Now the notable thing about Deal was that despite being a residential 2-lane road, it was very busy at rush hour. The reason for that was that Route 18 ended at it. Or rather, as was an NJ thing, it paused there, then resumed northwest of there, becoming an east/west highway to the county seat. So, everyone had to get off, travel west and then north if you were continuing towards the county seat, or east to Route 35 if you worked in Ocean or the towns north, which included Fort Monmouth, which is where most were going. Since it was a limited access road, but not a highway, this developed into the town's main business corridor as you'd expect. Now, as you can expect, Deal wore out early, but the town didn't want to pay for repair, so they told the state to. State said no, Ocean sued and won. So, state had to repave, or pay to repave, the road. Cue malicious compliance. The state decided to solve the wear and tear problem. Yep, you guessed, less than a year later, they found money to finally finish Route 18, so no one needed to take Deal to Route 35 anymore. Remember what Route 35 was? Yeah, there was a bit of downturn in traffic at businesses there with the results you'd expect. Thank you. Next. TL. DR at the end. I, 18M, have been playing violin for round and about 11 years, almost always had fun with it and was always on relatively good terms with my violin teacher, even though she is known for being very strict and I heard of a lot of people quitting because they can't work with her. Although she was strict, she was mostly fair with only some minor things I could really complain about. Until one day I got handed sheets that were scribbled on the day I got them. This is completely okay and the sheet is still readable, plus the scribbles were notes that indicated how to use the bow, up bow or down bow, basically just from which side to use the bow and yada yada. When we started practicing she changed a lot of the notes and as usual wrote new ones to the sheet with new instruction on how to play certain parts. She always does that when there is a part that can be simplified for pupils or just sounds better like that. But every week at practice she changed some of the already changed notes again. This was very annoying, since you practice and get used to these and changing them is always bound to confusion at first. But the real problem started when there were so many things crossed out and overwritten, that I could barely read what I was even meant to do. At this point I should tell you that these notes were mostly simplistic symbols and numbers and not even words or whole sentences, but there were so many of them, I started playing things wrong, due to me not knowing WTF I was even supposed to do and her changing things mid-practice, which made her very annoyed. Even more annoyed than at times when I barely practiced and played like crap. She corrects me on several things where I was 100% sure I got them the way I was told, but she just didn't care and scribbled even more on my sheets. At this point I got annoyed too. There were just so many things she blamed me for. Every time I told her, she just told me to buy my own sheets if I am unsatisfied with them, which I neither had money, sheets for big concerts can be expensive, or nerve to do. Fast forward to concert. Shortly before the concert started I had several questions about specific parts again and wanted them cleared before we play, since we had 200-ish people in the audience and I didn't want to fuck up. She just told me that we have been over this, just play what is written. Cue the malicious compliance. I did exactly what she told me to do. I played what was written down, always just choosing the most seeable symbol if I could. I was so goddamn often out of the rhythm of others and it was clearly seeable even for people who don't know much about playing violin. Now the best part is not even me fucking up, but since I was the oldest player, except my teacher, I was also the lead at the front and many younger players looked at me if they were unsure if they were out of tact or not. The whole section of first violins fell apart since others who didn't even look at me got unsure what to play, due to everyone else being a mess. We played till the end but when it was over many people were confused and the clapping started while I too late, which is never a good sign. My teacher was fuming. She asked how TF I messed up so badly later and I told her exactly what I did, playing what was written, and showed her my sheets again. I was planning to quit for a long time now and the next week I did. Although it is sad to go like that, it was most definitely worth it. TL. DR. I got blamed for mistakes I couldn't avoid and messed up a concert that took months to prepare. Thank you. Next. Years ago, I worked for a place that offered tuition reimbursement as a benefit. I was working at an inbound telephone customer service call center when I started taking advantage of this benefit and figured it was a chance for a better lot in life. There was the usual stipulation of having to pay back anything I had received in the prior year I had to sign off on, though. I was also working to collect various IT certifications at the same time. About halfway through my new degree program, the IT certs finally paid off and I got a job that paid a good bit more than what I was making then. I figured they would come after the tuition back, but it seemed worth the risk for the raise, so I jumped on it. And, of course, not long after I left I received a letter from my former employer asking for their money back, along with a copy of the agreement I signed. Where is the malicious compliance, you ask? I wrote back to them and acknowledged that I did indeed sign that agreement, and I did indeed owe them the money. But then I pointed out that the form did not include a time frame for a payment. Of the roughly $4,500 I owe them, I offered to send them $50 a month, which was within the terms of their agreement. They weren't happy with the arrangement, of course, but it was within terms of the agreement. And anyone who has worked in inbound call center before knows they didn't deserve it back a penny faster. In the end I finished my degree and am now working as an IT professional, but they never did get all their money back. Some of my payments got returned after the first year, so I'm still just waiting for further instructions on paying them back. Edit. To add some clarity, it has been over 10 years since my last $50 payment. I paid back about $600, but the statute of limitations is up for them to collect on the well over $3,000 I still owe. Also, it's malicious because they wanted me to pay it all back immediately, and their time frame loophole foiled them. Thank you. Next. I work at a fuel place in Australia. We have laws that prohibit paying for stuff with a huge insane pile of coins. I think the rule is generally 10 times the face value of the coin, so $10 1 coins etc. However, this law does not apply for petrol if the person claims they have no other way of payment. So of course we get frustrating people who just want to get rid of their change. So one night I am on by myself and a guy fills up his car and comes in. The price is $80, $75. So I tell him and he starts pulling out bags of coins. I sigh inwardly and make a point to ask him if he has any other way to pay, as there won't be enough room left in our tills. He smirks, says no, and rubs it in my face that we have to accept it. Fine. I start counting. I soon notice that as he is emptying the bags that it will barely equal the price. Likely he counted all the coins and filled up to the exact number. As he is getting out one of the last bags of 5C coins, I notice one slips off the counter behind some confectionery. If the guy hadn't been a dick I'd have pointed it out, but he was. He was telling me to hurry up and that he didn't have all day. He also said the service here was lousy and he didn't know how I kept my job being so slow. There was also a line forming behind him. So I get to the end of counting and oh, what a shame he's 5C short. I tell him and he says I'm joking. I show him the piles and tell him to count them if I don't believe him. He starts looking in pockets and his wallet. No coins. It's just 5C, it's not that much. Then you'll have no problem paying it, sir. Apostrophe. He starts looking panicked and looks at the others in line for help. But many are regulars and on good terms with me. They've overheard how shitty he has been and none offer him anything. Look, it's just 5C, I'll come back tomorrow. Apostrophe. Sorry sir, but if you leave without paying the full amount it constitutes a drive off and the police will need to be informed. Apostrophe. He goes pale. He then goes bright red and pulls out a $100 bill he had the whole time. Oh, I thought you said you had no other form of payment, sir. I say, drawing it out. Just take it. I'd be happy to. But first I'll load all your coins back into your bags for you. Apostrophe. He is bright red and I can practically feel the embarrassment coming off him. When he finally leaves, the people in the line are staring daggers at him. Then one of the regular customers in line steps up and picks up the 5C piece. He must have seen the guy drop it too. Serves him right for being he says. Oh, that felt good. Thank you. Next. This happened a year or so ago. We had a senior discount day at the store and we were very short on small bills. Seniors here all pay with their pension money fresh from the ATM or the bank and don't carry any loose change, so those days are hell for us cashiers. You start the day with a certain amount of small bills in your register. But that quickly disappeared despite me asking everyone for $1, $2, 50c etc. So I could round up the receipt. I was not able to return change to people efficiently. I had to borrow money from other registers. Then comes this guy, buys something for let's say $2 different currency but it doesn't matter, and pays with like a $5 bill. But then he asks me to split his $10 bill into a $5, $2, $2 and $1. I think he wanted to give his kids lunch money for school or something. I felt bad but had to turn him down because I literally didn't have any small bills to work with, let alone give him. Usually this is not a problem for me, but this particular day I couldn't do it even if I wanted to. So he gets angry with me, goes at the back of the line and gets a newspaper. Now it's clear to me that he is going to pay with a $10 bill, so I go through all the registers and collect all the coins I found. Once it's his turn, he puts the newspaper on the register, all smug. I grab handfuls of coins from my register and start counting them for him. He is looking at me, speechless, and once I was done counting his change he just said call me your manager. I said of course and called him. The manager apologized on my behalf and told me to return him the change properly, so I slowly went through other registers again as I said, I didn't have any money in my register, and gave him the bills he wanted. Didn't get into any trouble because technically I gave him the proper amount of change.